Hello. Check. Hello.
Who's that girl?
Check. You good? All right. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm getting this mic situated. My name is Jeff Keiholtz. I am best friend, probably doesn't capture it. Steve and I were brothers. He was my family. As much of a family member to me as to my wife, Jennifer, who was like a sister to her, and our daughter, Vienne, who was his niece. And this is actually a true story, funny story. For Vienne's, that's our daughter's name, Vienne's 4th birthday, she's 6 now, but for her 4th birthday, we come home and there's a package on the steps of our house, and it's from Uncle Steve, and she's excited, and we bolt inside, and she opens the package, and it's this beautiful, we thought it was a portrait at first, and it wasn't, but it was this framed signage, and it had these 5 lovely sayings on it that still hang on her wall today, and some of you know this story, but bear with me. The first one was, "You are loved." The second one was, "We are proud of you." The third one was, "Your opinion matters." The fourth one was, "Capitalism is a tool of the upper class, designed to keep the people oppressed, struggling, and docile." And number 5 was, "You have what it takes." And that was Stephen's wit and brilliance and uniqueness in a nutshell. But I just wanted to share that story with you. I won't go into all the details. I know we're living in time, but about how he and I knew each other. And we, before I became a father, when I found out my wife and I we were going to have a baby, I don't know. I was elated. I was scared, and I remember feeling alone. And I walked up to my house in downtown Frederick, and in the mailbox was a hand-delivered card. This was about a week before Vienna was due, and I noticed the handwriting, and it was from Stephen. And I sat on my porch and I opened it up, and it was a card, and it. On the front of it was an automobile, and inside it just said, "Just remember, the kid never remembers the make or the model car. They remember the conversations in the car." And to me, those two stories sort of encapsulate, to me, a personality, someone who was my king. Like, how do you summarize the king in 10 minutes? But his intentionality, right? When he was with you and talking to you, it was about you. It was about you. And I think one value set that he and I shared, we're both very passionate people. We're both very sensitive people. But Stephen's sensitivities lent themselves to his brilliance. Not only as a brilliant brother, but as a brilliant litigator, as a brilliant advocate, as a brilliant community member, every time you were with Stephen, you felt like it was a party of one. And the other thing I want to talk about is the dash. I was noticing today the PowerPoint, the lovely PowerPoint that Maria put together, and there's the birth date and there's the end date, the date that he died. And in the middle, there's that dash. But that dash is the impact. That dash is life. That's what it's all about. You know, I'm big into metaphors and I'm big into quoting. And there's a line that I was thinking about a lot, which was, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs is people who've come alive. And Stephen was alive. You felt that in every happy hour you're out with him, every New Year's Eve, in the courtroom, when you were just sitting side by side together, hanging out. Stephen was alive. And Stephen taught me about the privilege of being able to make an impact. Stephen made an impact on my daughter with that hilarious framed picture. Stephen made a lasting, deep impact on me with that card. And Stephen made an impact on me every day of my life. And Stephen was, I want to say, at the end, well, not even at the end, Stephen was terrified. Stephen was fucking terrified, right? He's 38 years old, gets a diagnosis. It's pre-cancer, it's stage 3, no, stage 4. It's like, and he was on a lot of anti-anxiety medications, as you can imagine. And he was staring into this void, this inevitable place. But even till the end, he started dressing up. When he was stage 4, he started dressing up. He looked good. He was planning to buy a house with his wife. They got married. They got married in November. He got diagnosed stage 3 in July, stage 4 was September, but they got married. And up until the very end, he was planning a run for state's attorney. So even every day when he was sometimes balled up and we're holding him and he's just crying, you know, he still was coming alive. He was coming alive. And I think that's the message that I just want to sort of, as a public service announcement, impart. That dash, we all have that dash. Own your dash. Own your dash. We're all here because Stephen had that sort of impact on us in different ways, right? As we put into the obituary, this, as philosophers we have long debated and will continue to debate, which is it better to be a sedentary planet out in the ether that exists forever but never really touches anyone anywhere, ever? Or to be a comet? To be a comet that just bounces off gravitational fields and just emanates light, heat, and awe for everyone it encounters. Own your dash. Come alive. I know that's the message Stephen will want me to share with you today. I love you, buddy.
That thing is too tall.
Good afternoon, welcome friends and family. My name is Maria. I was a close friend of Stephen's, official title of Biff, a title I was able to earn after many years of being introduced by him as his former intern, current best friend. Indeed, it was the summer of 2009. I was 21, having just graduated college, and thinking about going to law school when I approached Stephen. Well, more like interrupted him after his work happy hour to ask for a chance at an internship to get a first-hand experience of the law. Stephen, without hesitation, took me under his wing. For the months that followed, I shadowed him in court, got quizzed about what I had experienced, and challenged him to thinking like a lawyer. Almost a year later, in the summer of 2010, having been by his side almost every week, taking everything he did in, my mind was weighed up. The law was not for me. To Stephen's great disappointment, I would not be pursuing law school. However, in that year, something much more monumental happened. I made a new best friend. In the years to come, Stephen was my guy, my go-to for everything, and though friends of his and mine would insinuate or ask in the beginning, wait, but like dating? No. It was so much bigger than that. We became family. And of course, our home, El Porto, where we would meet for what he would unironically call our girls' night out. With a full carafe of wine, a white pizza with marinara on the side, and some overly sweet cocktail as dessert. We would sit at that restaurant bar and be suspended in time. We would talk about everything, vent about his cases, or sometimes talk them out to seek a new angle, talk about music, movies, our daily woes, our dating life in our 20s. We love talking about our favorite shows in great detail, armchair experts, really. For years, for example, that was Game of Thrones. And Stephen, having read all the books, proudly, so happily pointed out and teased spoilers, where the show was not like the book or so-and-so didn't happen, and I'd be like, please, and he'd be like, I can't tell you. Oh, just tell me what happened. No, he'd say, insufferable. We shared so many different experiences and memories. It was Stephen in his little Ford Focus named Phyllis who taught me how to drive manual, and that was terrifying. We took spontaneous day trips to the beach, went to so many concerts, hockey games, him a proud Penguin fan, me a proud Caps fan, so really the only time we were true rivals. Stephen was even by my side the day I became a US citizen, November 6, 2013, a day before his birthday. And of course, our favorite thing we looked forward to every year, the most wonderful time of the year, as we would say to each other, Halloween. In the past months, we talked about life, about his fear of all of it, dreams not accomplished, except of course for one. To me, having been at his side through his dating years and his quest for true love, will say one of his more important dreams, to become a husband. Emily, thank you. Thank you for making that dream come true. You remain to us, who have loved you both, the best part of him. In this past months, our talks were also more of an existential nature. Why are we here? But most importantly, what happens when we are gone? Stephen, a man of realism, believer in certain absolutes. His existential philosophy, this was it. To him, his passing would be the end, period, no argument. But of course, to those of you who knew Stephen well, you know that an argument against his absolutes was just the beginning of a great debate. And so, my friend, I am going to say goodbye by putting forth my argument one last time. You know, in physics, we learned that energy is a conserved quantity, the law of conservation of energy. It states that energy can be changed, but energy cannot be created nor destroyed. We, has been proved, our bodies made of energy. After all, that is what we are all feeling among us today, the energy of love. And so, Stephen, this isn't finite, this isn't it, this even isn't goodbye. As energy cannot be created nor destroyed, your energy lives with us forever.
Hey, everyone. It's redundant, but it means so incredibly much to see all of your faces out there today. And over the past 8 months, 7 months, since Stephen was diagnosed, all of your countless messages and cards, and I know we were very closed off, but I just want you to know that in Stephen's, some of his lowest moments, we would sit and just read your words, and it would fill him. It would really fill him. And I truly think all of the love and all of the prayers and all of the light that everyone said really made it able for him to stay positive till the very end. Jeff and Maria had said it, up until the very end, he was playing during the Steve's attorney. He was talking about buying houses. He stayed so positive, and it was really incredible, and it allowed us to have 7 extra months that I don't know if we could have had if he had let himself be overwhelmed by grief the whole time. He was the strongest person, and he was there. I mean, he was there for me. He was there for his friends. He was there for family while he was sick. It was just, if I was having a hard day, he was still there for me. He was such an incredible person. And I just wanted to read this quick quote from The Time Traveler's Wife. I remember I was reading this book when we were in the hospital for the first time, and Jennifer saw it and she said, "Why in the world are you reading that book right now?" I had no idea what it was about, or I'd seen the movie. And it turns out to be very similar to our story, where it's a couple and they know that the husband only has limited time left, and they make the most of it. And his quote, "But don't you think," I said, "that it is better to be extremely happy for a short while, even if you lose it, than to just be okay for your whole life?" Stephen made me extremely happy for 3 years, and the amount that I grew as a person while I was with him can never be taken away, and he will live on. I know he made his family extremely happy for 38 years, and those of you that knew him for however long it was, he touched everyone's life. He remembered your name, he remembered something about you, and he truly cared about everyone, and will love them forever. Thank you all.
Hey everyone, we have one more speech here, and it's Stephen's brother Jake.
Thank you. I have notes on my phone, so I will be looking down, and it's also kind of a coping mechanism to not be completely overwhelmed by all of this. So let me pull up my notes real quick. Well, I guess a little backstory is necessary for most of you that never met me. I'm the baby brother. My brother Daniel, Steve, obviously. We have the same mom, different dad. They're 17, 18 years older than me still, if he'll continue to live on. But I don't know if I can describe what it was like to have a brother like Steve, but I can tell you that my mom can attest to this, that up until recently, I just held Steve in all the experiences we had. I held him as, I think I'm a smart guy. I always thought Steve's up there, I'm down here, because just growing up with him, you see all the interactions. He's working all day, but he's still able to talk to you. He's going through case notes. Mom remembers that if she couldn't pick me up one day, I'd come over to his office on Bent Street, and he'd be all in his notes, but he'd still be like, "Oh, hey Jake, you want to play some music? And I can just say with confidence that I wouldn't have any of the things I have without Steve. My mom and dad gave me great musical taste, but he took me to Muse concerts. He always just encouraged me, and it's just for the first time, obviously we have pictures of Steve, but I just seeing him. It's like like you don't understand. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that, but it's hard for me to explain how he was my life in that second to seventh, whatever, fifth grade, something like that period. I'd sleep over with him. And I mean, when I was little, I would sing Muse songs because he got that in me. And I wanted to play guitar and sing at the same time, but I thought that was something only a genius can do. I'm just trying to say that I all of the smarts that I must have just absorbed it from him because he just admitted that. He just admitted everything. And yeah, he just, it was hard, this process, because how can someone like that die? Like, obviously we all know we're mortal, but I think it might be a medical fact that, no one really can accept that they're going to die. And I definitely can't accept that Steve is dead, but I can say that he lives on in me. I don't know where Dave Zebarth is, but we will be at the close of this around 3:45-ish playing songs in his memory, just to show how much he meant to me, songs picked out to honor him. So thank you guys a lot.
Thank you again, everyone, so much for being here. Feel free to enjoy, mingle, hug, cry, smile for the rest of the time. I did want to share, as Megan asked me to, last night NPR broke the news that the largest comet nucleus ever observed was found by NASA last night. So, way to go, Steve.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think there are still seats. If people want seats, there are definitely lots of seats here in the middle and the front. And if you'd like to sit at the tables, there are certainly lots of places for people to sit. We are really glad to see such a huge outpouring of support from the bar today, the clerk's office. It's so good to show such a good representation for students. We're going to, each of us are going to tell you a little bit more about Stephen and probably more than what you all know. I think that Judge Dwyer indicated he would like to say a few words, so we were going to let Judge Dwyer go first if you want to make your way down. And I do want to remind everybody, before you leave today, and certainly you're welcome to stay until 6 o'clock, but before you leave, if you could just take a few minutes and write down some memory you might have of Stephen. There's by the door, you saw the bracelets, but there are also some little cards there. If you could write a memory, I know it would mean a lot to the people if you could share some memory you might have of Stephen.
Wait a second, this might be the last time. All rise. He's getting too old for that. All right, this is just a few words about Stephen. And really, what do you say about Stephen? Well, this is just a few thoughts. Number one, when I found out that he was intending to run for state's attorney, I was shocked. I never looked at Stephen as a state's attorney. He was a quintessential defense attorney. As a law clerk, I had him review all my search warrants. He wanted me to deny them all. I said, Stephen, you want to be a defense attorney. You want me to sign these warrants. You want to have business. And then he approved about half. I had to go through all this to make sure, but yeah, that was Stephen. He became one heck of a trial attorney. I'm not going to go into all that. I know Alan will say a lot of it. But as an advocate, he was tremendous. I can remember the trial of the golf pro from what's it called, Clustered Spires, which Alan and Stephen and Karen did together. And Stephen was wonderful. He was the one that knew the law. Although he said Karen's the one that kept feeding it to him. But anyway, he knew the law, he argued the law. If you didn't know it, Stephen was a Steelers fan. You may have heard that. I was a Ravens fan. I still am. We had his idea, a gentleman's bet. On every game, the bet was there. If the Ravens won, he wore the Ravens tie on Monday. If the Steelers won, I wore the Steelers tie on Monday. I provide the Ravens tie to him, he provided the Steelers tie to me. Although occasionally I understand it was Megan who actually got the tie to me. But we did it that way. Emily, I don't know where you are tonight. Where are you? Well, Emily, Steve always wanted to have a family. He wanted to get together. He was looking for the right lady. And did he find her? He found her in Emily, and I was so glad. And I was glad to say I met Emily actually prior to his sickness. So, what can I say? And then I got to view the wedding on Zoom, which I thought was wonderful. And all I can say is we're all going to miss Stephen, the bar's going to miss him, and everybody's going to miss him. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to have this marked as offensive. I'm going to publish this. How I'm going to pick a jury out of this crowd. That's a picture of Stephen when I met him. He looked like he was about 16, and that's giving him some extra credit. He was tall, he was lanky. I was in district court. He was doing the docket as an intern for the public defender's office while I was still in law school. I noticed him because of how strident he was in defending his clients. I didn't get his name, but I remember being impressed with how well he handled the district court public defender docket at that age. Sometime thereafter, I get a call from a kid that was graduating from law school and was looking for a job. I told him I didn't have any openings, but I would be happy to talk with him about practicing law in Frederick, something that I love to talk about. Who showed up with the strident kid who was doing the Rule 16 thing? He told me about how he got hooked on the law while he was in high school, how he camped out at the University of Baltimore until they let him in. His enthusiasm was just infectious. And a short conversation revealed how much he wanted to go to court, a lot, right away. After 15 minutes, I knew this guy would try a murder case the next day. Anyone who could get Judge Dwyer to wear a Steelers tie was someone I had to get to know. I explained that if he was interested in making a lot of money practicing law, I was probably not the guy that he should check. I offered him $500 a week and told him that if we were still talking to one another after a year, he would be a partner. It was a hell of a year. And so LeRoux and Winnick came into being. Not too long after, Karen Dolsey left Judge Nichols and joined us, and thereafter I experienced the best years of practicing law I ever had. Stephen was a great partner, a great friend, and a great human being. Every piece of his philosophy was focused on helping the disadvantaged, the poor, those who seemed to always come up with the shitty end of the stick. And he was a quick learner who loved talking about the law and how we as lawyers could make things better for our clients. He was the kind of lawyer who made a friend of every client, every colleague against whom he litigated, and just about every cop that he came into contact with. Explaining how Stephen and Karen and I operated is complicated. Much time kicking around the issues in our cases and talking about decisions. Not only appellate decisions, but the decisions that came our way from across the street. There was also a lot of time taking care of one another as human beings. And since I was the oldest by several decades, I needed most of the help. Stephen and Karen always were there for me, and the time I spent with them was a great gift. When I found out Stephen's diagnosis, I knew that sooner rather than later, I would be standing here trying to explain to the Frederick legal community what a black hole his death means to me. His legacy is an incredible optimistic approach to what right-thinking lawyers can accomplish by always seeking what is fair and right. I often think how lucky we are in Frederick because of the younger lawyers like Stephen who are stepping up and taking up leadership of what is undoubtedly the best place in America to be a lawyer. Whatever path Stephen decided to take, he remained the son I never had, and a lawyer who I fully believed I would put a robe on one day. Our loss is huge, but we know this. In our hearts, he will live forever. Thank you.
Not a lot of fun to follow that, but my name is Jacob Craven, and I was a colleague, and much more importantly, a friend to Steve, and I'm the reason this lectern is so called today. The first thing I ever heard about Stephen was from his mother, Megan. It was, I can't remember if it was 2007 or 2008, but Steve was applying for different clerkships around the area, and Megan was asking me some questions about the clerkship I had just finished and the judge I had clerked for. And a couple months later, I think I followed up with her when I saw her in court again, and she was just beaming with pride that Steve was going to be Judge Dwyer's clerk next year. And working for Judge Dwyer was, probably the right decision, but Judge Johnson, who I work for, he is a big fan of bow ties, so I think there was a little bit of a connection there. But, when Steve started with Judge Dwyer, I thought of him as Megan's son. I knew her from being in the courtroom. Although he was only 2 years behind me professionally, he was about 5 years younger than me, and it just didn't occur to me at first that we would be friends. But he decided that we would be. When I moved to, as he started his book, excuse me, and I was just moving to Frederick, he invited me to join him and our friend Dave LeRoux, who is somewhere here, maybe, for drinks and entertainment at the open mic performances of Bushwallers on Thursday nights. This concept was a terrible idea. For those of you that don't remember that period, PTC Fridays back in 2008 were heavy docket days for prosecutors and defense attorneys. The mornings routinely lasted until early afternoon, so staying out late Thursday evenings was not a healthy way to have to work. Like many terrible ideas, it quickly became tradition. A tradition that lasted for years. In most ways, these were thoroughly unimportant gatherings. Two guys enjoying a few beers, and as you've heard, Steve ordering drinks by call. But the welcome and acceptance that Steve and Dave showed me in what was actually a pretty difficult time for me personally provided me a sense of stability and safe harbor. I cherish those otherwise ordinary Thursday nights. Pages are sticking together, I apologize. As our friendship evolved from once weekly drinking buddies, Steve has been involved in the most important moments of my life. My wedding, the birth of my son, my transition into private practice, and the Washington Capitals 2018 Stanley Cup championship. These are listed in no particular order, by the way. But I did want to talk about that last one for a minute. When the Caps were on the verge of winning the Cup, Steve, a lifelong Pittsburgh fan, organized a get-together of some of the most ardent Caps fans he knew. At that get-together, he wore my Braden Holtby jersey for the game. He even bought a plastic Stanley Cup mug for me to drink out if they won. And when they did, he celebrated with us. And we stayed out too late. It was a great evening. And as I was preparing my remarks today, it occurred to me for the first time, they won that cup on a Thursday night. It occurs to me that I'm in the lawyer professional section of this, so I'm going to talk just briefly about Steve as a lawyer. And I had a long thing written, and I thought I would just sum it up this way. When Steve met me, I was a very young and true believer prosecutor. And I stand before you as a private practitioner focusing on criminal defense and family law, just like Steve. I might never forgive him for the family law thing, actually. But his friendship shaped the person I am today in innumerable and indescribable ways. I ended up looking up to and relying on that kid I first knew as Megan's son. He helped me when I needed help the most. Steve, I love you. I will miss you. Thank you for deciding that we were going to be friends all those years ago. Thank you.
I'm up here to talk about Stephen, not only as a member of the legal community, but also as his friend. He was really both of those things to me. Stephen and I shared a lot in common. He went to my alma mater, Frederick High School. He was also on the mock trial team, and he went to UB Law. But he was a little bit younger than me, so I didn't meet him until he became a law clerk in 2008. He and Jennifer Hubble were co-clerks. Jen Hubble was clerking for Judge Tisdale, and Stephen was clerking for Judge Dwyer. And I think I met Jen first because Laura Shelley, for everyone that remembers Laura Shelley, she made sure that I took all of Judge Tisdale's law clerks under my wing and kind of showed them the ropes. So I got Jen, but I also sort of got Stephen in that same process. And I didn't want to like him. He liked girly drinks. He asked a lot of questions about everything. And he liked the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Steelers. But I grew to love Stephen anyway. We had, as you've heard, there were some, I'm going to call them low-level bets between Judge Dwyer and Stephen. Stephen and I had some epic Ravens, Steelers, and Caps, Pens bets. I may have had to memorize and sing 3 verses of the Steelers fight song at a gathering of law clerks with Judge Dwyer there. And Stephen might have had to dress up like Poe, the Ravens mascot, which you probably have seen on some pictures, and come to a gathering of law clerks out at Cacique one night. But as Jake said, we supported each other's teams once our teams were knocked out. He was around for that Cap Stanley Cup run, and I do remember the mug and the champagne that we drank out of that mug, possibly out in the White Rabbit parking lot that night. I also mourned with him when Marc-Andre Fleury left the Pens. Very sad day for him. But I also loved watching Stephen grow in his legal career. It was a privilege to watch him grow as a lawyer at the same time as we became closer friends. Jen Hubble also observed what she called raw and unfinished when we first met Stephen, back when we were both getting to know him. He was just this ball of ambition and intellect, and he was so passionate about the law. He truly loved the law. And it was so incongruous because, as people have mentioned up here, and you may remember, he looked literally like a teenager, and I think 16 is probably giving him more years than he looked like. One of my college interns thought he was a high school intern when she first met him when he was in Florida. And I remember when he actually contemplated dyeing his temples gray so that he would look more distinguished. He came to work with Alan Winnick and then Karen Golsey joined them. And his relationship with Karen as truly almost partners was amazing. They bounced everything off each other. They prepared their cases together. They rooted for each other. And I think they knew each other's cases as well as their own. I remember the Don Frost case. I remember the preparation that went into that. And it might have been that Alan and Stephen were getting more of the glory and Karen was a lot in the background, feeding them the law, feeding them the information. But that's how they operated. They did all of that together. I've never seen such a collaborative and supportive partnership that Karen and Stephen really had in preparing cases together. And they grew up together as lawyers. And I know Alan saw that, the two of them kind of coming into their own together. I know Karen's grief is immense. As a lawyer, Stephen was tenacious, and he was always supremely prepared. He would learn the issues in his cases inside and out. And by that, I don't just mean the legal issues. If there was a medical issue, he would crack out the DSM. He would learn all of the issues behind it. If it was a substance abuse issue, he talked to providers, he learned all the ins and outs of that substance abuse issue. He ran theories and questions by therapists and doctors and addiction specialists. His preparation was really legendary. Stephen and I did not have many cases against each other in private practice. But when we did, he always would ask me afterwards what he could have done differently or what he could have done better. He never stopped asking for ways to perfect his craft. He never stopped asking those questions. He was one of the few lawyers I knew that didn't feel like probably a lot of the lawyers in this room felt as young lawyers. You don't want to show a chink in the armor. You don't want to appear that you don't know everything. And you were afraid to go out and ask other people how to do things for fear they might see it as a weakness. That was never Stephen. I know he would come up to judges after proceedings in front of them, just as he came up to me as a lawyer after having cases together and asked, what did I do wrong? What could I do better? What would you have done? I remember one of the many days that he came into my office just to chat, and there were many of those days. That one day, though, he came in just to thank me for pushing him to become a mediator. And I told him I should be thanking you. He mediated cases for families who not only needed the financial break that he gave them, because he always did, he would mediate cases for $50 an hour, whatever it took to get those people into mediation. But he also treated them as equals. He never lectured to them or was condescending. He treated them as self-determining individuals that can control their own outcomes. He empowered people when he mediated with them. And that was one of his many gifts, his ability to connect with people with empathy and compassion and true caring. He wanted to make their lives better and help them get through a difficult legal process. He always told me that I was his mentor. In a lot of ways, he was a mentor to me too, on how to treat other people. And I'm sure he had many mentors. I know Judge Dwyer was one of his many mentors. But the mentee became the mentor to so many others. He always had time to talk through a case with another lawyer, give them advice, help them better prepare their case. He never made them feel rushed. He never said, like I sometimes do. I've got so much on my plate, I can't do it right now, but we can do it another day. He would drop what he was doing and help talk through cases. I have heard that from so many lawyers in the weeks leading up to today about them reaching out to Stephen, things I never knew when we still had Stephen with us. All the people that had reached out and said, can I work through a case with you? And that's the refrain I heard over and over. He always made time for that. And he did that even when he was battling cancer. I encouraged a local lawyer who was looking for someone to talk through a case with to call Stephen. I assured them he doesn't want to talk about cancer. He doesn't want to talk about prognosis, diagnosis, any of that. He loves the law. He's still excited about the law and passionate about the law. Please call him, talk to him about your case. And she did, and it ended up helping them both. It's one of the things she's very thankful for today, that she did pick up the phone and talk it through. I know another local lawyer who he was going to her office, actually probably just a couple of weeks before he passed, and said, I want to do legal work. I want to look at cases. I want to help you out. I want to get back into doing this. But Stephen was more than a lawyer and a mentor to other lawyers. He was also a mentor and a champion for his friends. He was a sounding board. I always noted that some people try to make themselves look better or feel better by belittling other people or minimizing other people's accomplishments. That wasn't Stephen. He supported his friends, he celebrated their accomplishments, and he didn't just say he supported you. He wrote letters for you. He called people for you. He offered to run campaigns. He really put his money where his mouth was. Cindy Schumacher said to me one day outside of a courtroom that, wow, I knew what he did in the courthouse, what he did in the courtroom, but I never knew how much he did outside the legal world and how many people Stephen touched. Today has been, the word for me isn't humbling, but it has been amazing to see the outpouring. Not just this group here, but the group before that. All of the people that he's touched, not just in the legal world, but in general. He had a passion for local politics. He gave back to our community. He was an attorney coach for Frederick High School and Tuscarora High School. He volunteered to judge mock trial matches. He was an amazing friend, and he was a brother to both his biological family, as well as the family he chose as well outside. He had a family of friends and family of legal practitioners that he also considered family. And the one thing so many people love about Stephen is that he has a passion for the underdog. He always has. So I'm going to ask that you not grieve today. I want you to do something good with this. I want you to keep Stephen's spirit alive. I want you to make a splash. Get involved. Fight for the underdog. And make it your mission to help those people that need to be lifted up and acknowledged and understood and helped and championed and represented in every sense. Thank you, everyone. All right. We want to thank everyone for coming out. We would love for you to stay and continue to mingle for a while. There is some food out there, a cash bar. And please make sure you sign a remembrance card for Stephen. It really would mean a lot. I know Megan would love to be able to read. I know Emily would as well. We plan to make them into 2 books so that they'll have those memories of Stephen. There are bracelets out there too. Our bar president, Judge Flores, sorry. Did a nice write-up in the bar newsletter. If you're not a lawyer, but you're in the legal community or someone who might not otherwise be able to read it, it's out there too. So I hope you take a little time and tell some stories about Stephen. Keep his memory alive. Thank you all so much. Sorry.